Alright, I am finally getting around to making this video. For those of you that aren't familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, he is an entrepreneur and owns a huge marketing agency, as well as being a big business hype man. You've probably seen him on social media before. He's very loud and swears a lot. So he does this bit on social media that he calls Overrated, Underrated, where he'll get a list of things that could be businesses, concepts, and he kind of puts them on this scale of being either overrated or underrated, or even just fairly rated, right in the middle. If you've seen any of my recent videos, I've actually been making videos where I wanted to show people some underrated exercises for upper and lower body. If you want to check those out, I'll link them at the top here. Ultimately, I want to be providing value to you. That's the only reason I make these videos. So a couple weeks ago on Instagram, I posted on my story saying that I wanted to basically do the same thing, and I wanted input from my followers to see what exercises they want to hear more about. And I'm definitely going to do this type of thing again in the future, where I get feedback from my Instagram followers and use that to make content on here. So I'll put the link to my Instagram in the description. Go drop a follow, it would mean a lot. But when I do make another video where I want people's input, you'll be able to give me that feedback and I'll be able to talk about things that you want to learn about. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ian Rowanleg. I am a strength and conditioning coach on the East Coast of Canada. My main goal on here is to help you reach your fitness goals. So if you're struggling with your training, or you've hit a plateau, or you just want to learn more about exercise science in general, drop a sub. It does a lot to support me, and I want you to be a part of my community. Now, the real reason I wanted to make this video is because I feel that there's a lot of exercises out there that are either seen as like the holy grail of improving, upper body strength, lower body strength. They're just a staple in everyone's training. And then there are exercises that people avoid like the plague. And a lot of the time there is reason for these things. There are certain exercises that I will never use. There are certain exercises that I will almost always use. But I think there are also a lot of exercises that were used really heavily in the past, but as we learn more about exercise science and training and more research comes out, a lot of these methods are starting to get pushed aside because we realize that, certain exercises are actually better, or there's less risk, more reward to using different ones. And I'll kind of explain what I mean with a few of these ones as we go through this exercise list. At the end of the day, context is everything here. So I encourage you to take that approach with anything that you're going to criticize. Obviously, some things are stupid, but it is important to recognize context. Before I forget, if you do enjoy this video, please drop a like. And if you want to see more from me, drop a subscription on the channel. It's totally free and really helps me a lot. So let's get on to the video. It was probably top 2 out of all the exercises listed, and different variations were given. I'm not going to break down every specific variation here. I'm just gonna lump it into one group because it's ultimately kind of the same thing. And that is the Olympic lifts. More specifically, clean variations. So power clean and hang clean were the big ones. I hate to do this to the weightlifters out there because they are great exercises, they are useful, and I love the sport of weightlifting itself, but I think cleans are overrated. I think they're a very overrated exercise. The main purpose of performing a clean is to improve power output, specifically with triple extension. So when we jump or we sprint, we're getting extension through our hip, our knee, and our ankle. That's what's giving us that big push off. It's what makes us jump high, what makes us run fast. And don't get me wrong, cleans are very, very effective for training this. I'm not saying that they aren't. That's not what this is about. It's about whether or not the exercise is overrated or underrated. And if there's anything that research has told us about the clean in the last 10 years, it's that it really is an overrated exercise for improving power output with triple extension. There are tons of studies showing that you can improve power output just as much or more just by performing loaded jump variations like a jump squat. The main thing we're trying to do is challenge that triple extension. And the main issue with the clean here is that it is a very, very technical exercise. To be really proficient at performing the clean, it takes a lot of practice. If you're competing in weightlifting, then obviously you're going to get a lot out of performing this exercise because it literally is your sport. If you're training athletes and the sole purpose of the training is to improve these outputs and get that transfer to sport, if you're spending a huge portion of your training just trying to learn the exercise, it's going to take away a lot of that benefit. Technical proficiency is what allows you to maximize outputs with any exercise. If you suck at doing cleans, you're probably not producing as much power as you would with a more simple exercise where you literally just grab the weights and jump as high as you can. Now, the one thing that I do like with the clean is that because you have to triple extend really quickly and then get under the bar to actually catch it, it challenges that contraction relaxation a lot more than something like a jump squat. And that contraction relaxation is really useful for sprinting, but obviously you can also train that by just sprinting. And then you're actually going to be able to develop your technique around sprinting as well. So if that's what you're trying to get out of the exercise, you're also probably better off doing something else. But that's my opinion on the exercise. Again, cleans will make you more powerful. It's more about whether or not it's the best thing that you could be doing to improve your power output. The next one is the back squat. And this one actually is gonna hurt me to say it, but overrated. Overrated. And this is one of those exercises that for a long time, it was seen as being, the king of improving your lower body strength, improving your leg strength. And again, research would support that it is useful at improving those things. Squatting, back squatting will make you stronger. This one comes more so back to the risk reward of the exercise. It also really depends on how you perform the exercise. Some people back squat in a very vertical position. Some people have a very big forward lean. That's going to be heavily influenced by bar placement. If you squat high bar, low bar, if you're squatting wide or narrow, that's going to make a difference as well. While the back squat is great for improving, leg strength, hip strength, back strength, it places a little more stress on your back than is necessary. There are a lot of ways that you can improve those things with just generally safer exercises. And the back squat isn't an inherently unsafe exercise. A lot of people just have the tendency to compensate with their low backs when they get under high load. It goes without saying, if you're competing in powerlifting, you should be back squatting. If you just want to have a big back squat, you should probably be back squatting. But there are a lot of ways that we can improve your leg strength and get your back stronger without having you back squat. I think having someone learn to front squat first is definitely a better way to go than having them back squat first, because they're going to learn how to stay more vertical in their squat, load into their hips and their knees a little better, and also brace better, learn how to create more tension anteriorly when it comes to core contraction there. And it also stops most people from creating this really big anterior pelvic tilt, which I also have another video on. I'll put that in the description. In general, I just find that the front squat or even a goblet squat teaches squat mechanics a lot better than a back squat does, or at least sets people up better to back squat in the future. If you're an athlete, I think split squat variations and single leg variations are going to be much more useful and provide much more transfer in most scenarios. I feel that while it is a useful exercise, the back squat is overrated. Next one, lunges. I feel like these are kind of in the middle. I think they're properly rated. I think that a lot of people don't understand how useful they can really be. So I think they're underrated in that sense from like a strength and power standpoint. It's an exercise that's often used as like an accessory exercise towards the end of most people's workouts, or definitely secondary from their main big lifts, but it's incredibly useful for training strength and especially power off of one leg. And obviously when you're loading the exercise more heavily, it's going to have a ton of stability requirements, core stability, pelvic stability, because you're breaking contact with the ground as you reach back. So you do have to be, very stable on that one leg as you reach back and as you come forward. I think that coordination and that stability is a really overlooked aspect of the reverse lunge. when used for strength and power. At the same time, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that just do like reps on reps of lunges, and it could be good from an endurance standpoint or just, you know, staying active. But it's like anything where eventually you will have to overload the exercise to keep getting more out of it. I think if you just do body weight lunges forever, they stop being useful very quickly. So I think they're overrated in that sense, and that's why I'm gonna put them in the middle here as properly rated, just because I think a lot of people don't know how to get the most out of the exercise. The next one is a rear foot elevated split squat, also known as a Bulgarian split squat, basically where you have your back foot elevated when you're performing a split squat, as one of the names would imply. I think it's an exercise that was also really contained in, you know, strength and conditioning and more so athletic settings for a long time, and it's slowly kind of making its way into, you know, commercial gyms. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons I think it is underrated, because most strength coaches do see the value in performing this exercise. But in terms of your average gym goer, it's only just starting to become a little more commonplace. So the big thing that takes away from the split squat as being a true single leg exercise is the fact that most people do get a lot of assistance from their back leg. Even though the purpose is to mostly emphasize that front leg, the back leg is needed for stability. And a lot of people tend to, you know, once they get under heavier weights, use that back leg to help them a lot. So with the rear foot elevated variation, I just find that it can be a really useful tool to teach people to relax that back leg a little bit more and get more emphasis on the front leg. I think it's generally a little better at putting more emphasis on that front leg. And it's also really easy to manipulate in order to, you know, focus on certain muscle groups more or less. And because it is a difficult exercise to perform, and because it puts a lot of focus on that front leg, you don't necessarily need a lot of weight to create a lot of challenge here. At the same time, there are a lot of people out there that can rear foot elevate split squat a lot of weight. So because of that, I think this exercise is really underrated, and it's something that anyone should learn to do at some point in their, you know, lifting career. So I actually have more exercises to get through, but I feel like this video is going to be way too long. So this is going to be the last one. If you do want to hear the rest of them, let me know in the comments, and I guess I'll make another video. But for now, the last one here is a Nordic hamstring curl. And I wanted to do this one because this is an exercise that is very well supported by research for preventing hamstring strains and hamstring tears, because it's very good at improving eccentric hamstring strength. The thing that I don't like with them is that most people don't actually have the strength to control that eccentric contraction through the full movement. A lot of people, especially if you have weak hamstrings to begin with, most people can't hold the point of peak torque for very long. They get to that position where there's a high amount of loading on the hamstring, they hold it for a couple seconds and then they let go. So while you are really challenging the hamstrings eccentrically, it's almost never through a full range of motion unless you are very strong to begin with. For this reason, I'm gonna say it, this exercise is overrated. To effectively train the hamstring eccentrically through a full range of motion, I think there are better variations that you can use. Basically, any sort of heavily loaded hamstring curl is going to be very useful and will allow you to actually get through a full range of motion. And some research even suggests that a seated hamstring curl is actually superior because you have the hamstring in a more lengthened position at the hip and at the knee, which again more closely replicates the position of the hip, knee, and the length of the hamstring when sprinting. Whereas with the Nordic hamstring curl, the hips are extended the entire time. Now, I'm not saying that you should be replacing all of your Nordics with hamstring curl variations. I think the best way to cover all your bases is to probably do both at one point or another. But as a whole, while they are supported by research, while they are very useful, the exercise itself is overrated. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for today. If you made it through the full video, let me know in the comments. I wanna know who actually listened through the whole thing. I know it's probably a little bit long, but it lets me know that you do want to hear my opinion on these things, and I really appreciate that. And also let me know if there's any other exercises that you want to hear more about. Again, if you did enjoy the video, smash that like button, and if you want to hear more from me, hit that sub button. I'll be putting out new videos every week. As always, this is real life. Be ready to perform.
High pressure excels behind it.